what I'm still left with from my MBA experience is the way of thinking, that I learned from the program. And today, the MBA, although it's highly commoditized, it is still by a very wide margin the most popular master's program in the world.
So Mahindra University formally started in 2020, and do we know that it already has more than 4,000 students on campus across the School of Law, School of Engineering, School of Management. And within the School of Management, it already has established a BBA program, an executive MBA program for people with 10 plus or 15 plus years of experience. And this year they're starting a 2-year MBA program. And that's why I'm here, because wherever there is MBA, there is strategy for GMAT as well. And today I will be spending time with their dean, their faculty, talking to the admissions team as well, and also spending time with the current BBA students in terms of how their experience has been so far. So this will be my day at Mahindra School of Management, and let's take a sneak peek in terms of whether this is a hidden gem or not, or what the future is in store for this kind of a program. So now I'm sitting with Dr. Srinivas, who's the program head for the MBA program, which is about to start here. And we will be talking about the admissions process, how the structure of the program will be, what is in it for the students to look forward to in terms of academia, in terms of life at the school as well. And talking about his experience as well in terms of why he chose to be a part of this quote-unquote startup in a large enterprise. So thank you, Dr. Srinivas, for talking to us.
Thank you.
So first question is, why Mahindra School of Management for you?
For me personally, okay. So I spent over 30 years in corporate life, all over the world, worked in the US, UK, Japan, Southeast Asia and so on. So in 2018, I decided to move into academics. I completed my PhD, then I taught at IIM Udaipur for a few years. And then Mahindra University was just starting up. A lot of my career, at least the last 15 years was in startups. So it was nice to be part of a startup again, this time in the education space. And I think that's what brought me to Mahindra University. Also, most of the business schools in India tend to be just pure business schools.
Yeah.
The advantage that I saw in Mahindra University, one is that it's multidisciplinary. So there's a lot more things that for students can do. And the second is that we have all programs all the way from undergrad to PhD, while the traditional business schools just have a MBA and maybe an executive MBA and a PhD. We are focusing quite a bit on undergrad as well. And I think the future of business education in India is in undergrad as well. So I think these are the 3 or 4 reasons why I decided to join Mahindra University.
Nice. And you're teaching the BBA program already? And
yes, I teach the BBA program. I teach the executive MBA program, which we launched last year. I teach the PhD program, and I guess as we launch the MBA program, I'll be teaching that as well. So I teach across all.
Right. So let's talk about the program here, MBA. So what is the philosophy in terms of, if you had to give like the mission statement of the program in terms of, for the student, what is the outcome that they should look at the end of the 2 years?
Yeah, so there are several MBA programs, well-established MBA programs in the country, and in that sense, we are new. So I think we had to be different, and we're really building on the strengths of what we have built at the undergrad level. So at the undergrad level, we offer specialized BBA programs. So we have a BA Finance and Economics, we have a BBA Digital. And we have a BBA in Business Analytics. So we're kind of replicating the same thing at an MBA level. Okay. So we have specialized MBAs. We have an MBA in Analytics, we have an MBA in Digital, and we have an MBA in Finance. And I think that the reason why we're kind of specializing it is, one, that's our strength. That's where a lot of our faculty are from. As I was telling you earlier, our faculty are from all over the world. We have some of the best faculty. Many of us have come from the industry. Plus, Hyderabad as a city has a large pool of visiting faculty that we can bring. So I think that's what's going to be unique. One is that it's very specialized in these 3 areas, which we believe are, looking into the future. of course, students can take some of the traditional subjects as well. It's not that they can't, but we are offering these 3 specializations. I think the other big difference is that we will tend to keep our batch sizes small in the initial years. A lot of the business schools are now between 300 and 900 students, so students get lost. They don't get the kind of attention that they deserve. We're going to keep our batch size relatively small, so I think that's going to help the students as well.
Okay. On the batch size then, a lot about MBA is peer learning, and more the merrier in that case. So a batch size of sub 50 or 60 people, how do you think they will essentially, talk about or manage the peer learning aspect with the batch and the diversity that is there?
Yeah, so I think anything, you don't need to have 900 students to get peer learning. Right? As long as it's a diverse batch, I think that's good enough. So we are aiming for diversity in the students we bring in. Yes, we will have some freshers, we'll have some people up to 3 years of experience. So it'll be a good mix of work experience. Interesting, even in our BBA program, today a majority of our students are actually women students. So that we're doing well on gender diversity in the BBA program. Hopefully we'll do a similar kind of thing in terms of diversity at the MBA program as well. So I think as long as we bring the diversity, people from all over India, varied experiences, manufacturing, IT services, I think we'll be fine. We don't need 900 to create that environment.
Right. And in terms of the practicum, opportunities within the program, are we having internships? Will we having industry projects? What are the opportunities?
So it's a combination of all of that. So I think we'll have. So in terms of teaching methodology, we'll have the usual, the lectures, the case-based methods. We'll have simulations. So we'll have a whole range of that. In addition to that, we have a summer internship because it's a 2-year program. So we will have a summer internship. We'll have a capstone at the end of the second year, which is kind of putting everything together, and then we have the placement. So yes, there will be a lot of industry connections. Even in the BBA program today, our programs have very, very intricately linked with industry, and we'll continue that same thing into the MBA program as well. So we'll have a lot of guest faculty, visiting faculty, industry folks. We are part of the Mahindra group where there are several diverse businesses, so students will get an opportunity to meet and see some of these business leaders. So I think it'll be a fairly interactive, it'll be very industry focused as well.
Okay, interesting. And all the early days, right? So what are the plans for placements? Because that's one thing that students definitely look for, especially when they're coming for an MBA program. Although we can't really quote companies coming in and all that, but what are the plans in place to make sure that there's a success?
Sure. So the MBA program is new, Manan, and so that your point is very valid. But as an we've been an engineering school for the last 7 or 8 years, and so we have a very well established a placement team that has been placing engineering students for over 7 or 8 years now. Our average salaries in the engineering college are very high compared to their peers. Almost all the major companies in India already come to our campus to hire engineering students. So we already have that base. It's not that we are starting from scratch. Now we have started the BBA placements for the first time. They're going for their summer internships, and in fact we were a little worried about that because nobody has ever hired BBAs of the kind of specializations that we are offering, and it's amazing that more than 50% of our batch is already placed for summer internships, and we are just in early March, right? So I think we have the team, we have the infrastructure, we just need to extend it to the MBA program. In addition to that, a lot of us, the faculty, come from the industry, so many of us have our contacts and our peer groups and all of that, and we leverage that as well. So I think we are confident, and it's a small batch, so I think we're very confident that given the legacy of placements that we already have within the university, plus all the quality of faculty and the industry connects that we have, I think we'll be okay on that front.
Right. Let's talk numbers. We talked about BBA placements that are happening. So any idea on what are the numbers so far? I know it's the middle of the process. And what kind of companies have come in and recruited?
Sure. So I think about 60% of the class is already placed. And so it's a 2-month internship. 6 to 8 weeks is what we are giving. It's a credited internship.
Okay.
And we are seeing salaries up to about 75,000 for the 2-month period. So it's a pretty good start, considering these are very, very unique MBAs, and these are all BBAs, and these are all 18-year-old, 19-year-old students. And the feedback we've got from the recruiters is actually what amazed us. They put them through a lot of the same case-based methods and things which they put MBA students through, and our students did well. So not only did they get recruited, but we got great feedback that they've done very well, whether it's financial services companies or whether it's marketing companies or whether it's banks. And so the feedback has been very good on the quality of education that is that our students are demonstrating there.
Okay, and so BBAs are getting this much. I'm sure MBAs would be, of course, a notch higher. And in terms of the kind of companies that are coming in, any examples that have already recruited?
So for BBA, many of them are startups. We're also talking to some of the larger brands, the usual brands in financial services, the banks and consumer FMCG companies for analytics, some of the ad agencies, the large ad agencies for digital marketing. So those are the kinds of companies that are coming in.
Right. And for placements for MBA, I heard you're already recruiting somebody and
yes, that's
getting
right.
the engine in order.
Yes, absolutely. So we are recruiting somebody senior to head the placements. I used to be part of the placement committee at my earlier institute as well, where we took the average salaries up from about 15 lakhs to about 21 lakhs. So I've kind of lived through that process in an earlier institute. So yes, I'll also be part of the process here in trying to build that entire placement team and get the right companies to come and hire.
Okay, and how much of it would be played a part by Mahindra Group?
They will play a part, but obviously we need to diversify beyond that. So even today, if you look at the 60% of the undergrad placements, we haven't even started the Mahindra placements yet. So these are all outside of Mahindra. The Mahindras will pick up some more students as we go into the process. So we started off with the non-Mahindra companies and then come here. So yes, Mahindras will play a role. We are a large conglomerate, diverse businesses, diverse needs. So yes, they will play a role, but that's not going to be our only focus. Maybe 20-30% at most to Mahindra Group. The others will be outside of Mahindra Group.
Which is very encouraging, to be honest, because you're not concentrating on one and of course banking on the legacy, but not so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is a good thing. Let's talk about admissions now. In terms of, first of all, what kind of students are you looking at? Any typical set of personas that you would want to draw it for us?
Sure. One, as I mentioned, we are looking for diversity because we have been able to achieve that at a BBA level. We want to continue that into an MBA level. We will obviously take in freshers as well, but I think most of our students, the sense I'm getting from is that they'll be about 1 to 3 years experience range. We're also looking at diversity in terms of experience. So it's not all people who are coming from IT services, which is what is happening in most business schools. We want students who come with some manufacturing experience or so we have a couple of students who applied who have an ESG kind of a background.
Okay.
So we're trying to bring in that kind of diversity among the student population. I guess the idea is that the more diverse it is, the more enriching the class discussions become. So that's really what we are aiming at. In terms of geography, obviously, we don't want it to be all from Hyderabad. We would like our students to come from all over India.
Yeah.
But that itself adds to another set of diverse views and thoughts.
Right, absolutely. And in terms of the process itself, so how does it lay out? Essays, application, etc., etc. Can you cover that?
So we have an application process which is fairly standard. So there is the regular application. There's a written essay. There's a video essay. Then you can apply. I think in terms of the standardized scores, you can submit either a CAT or GRE or GMAT, and then there's going to be an interview with a panel. So that's kind of the process that we are looking at.
Okay, interesting. And this panel essentially is, students, like ex-students.
For this year, the panel will be faculty and external. Largely faculty, some could be Mahindra faculty. We could also bring somebody from outside. We may also include some. So we have a large advisory board for the School of Management. So we may include some of the folks from the advisory board who are all industry folks to be part of the panel. Because we don't have alumni as yet. But I guess as it goes into year 3, year 4, we'll include alumni. And in fact, it will be run by them, I guess, to a large extent.
Definitely makes sense. And a lot of good top B schools are doing the same thing, because it is always about giving back to the alma mater, right? So let's talk scholarships now. So are there any? And if yes, then what are the types?
Yes, we will be offering scholarships, both need-based and merit-based. So as the applications come in, we will take a look and we'll certainly be offering scholarships for the students.
Right, and BBA also has
Yes, we have done very similar things, both need-based and merit-based at a BBA level as well. So,
okay,
absolutely.
Great. So thank you for taking out time.
Thank you, Manan. It was a pleasure talking to you. And I know we are a new business school, and but I think that's where the excitement is. I have been part of founding cohorts of business institutes, and including my PhD. And I think there is some fun in that itself, because by becoming part of the first cohort, you become like a pioneer or a trailblazer, and you're setting trends for future batches, and you can always say proudly that you were the first batch. And I do that for the institute I was part of. And also for students who are interested, we are available all the time. We can talk to us, they can reach out to us. We'll be having a series of webinars. You want to visit the campus. In fact, that's one thing I didn't speak about, is that we already have a 100-acre campus, which hopefully you'll get to see today. It's very beautiful, it's wooded. We're building new hostels, new facilities, and so I do encourage students to come and take a look at the infrastructure as well, because I think it's going to be very interesting. We have a new business school coming up as well, which is sort of currently we're operating out of a temporary building, which itself is nice, but we're coming up with a completely new business school, which should be up and running by next year. It's been designed by one of the leading architectural firms from New York. So it's going to be an exciting place to learn and exciting learning as well. So thank you again.
Thank you. Now I'm sitting with a bunch of BBA students who've been around in the School of Management for some time. And based on their experience, you can definitely extrapolate how the MBA program will be. So I'm sitting with 4 students here, and they are about to get into a Python exam in some time, and which is also new for a BBA program. So I'll not keep them waiting a lot. So let's talk about their experience so far. So first of all, I want to understand, why did you choose a new program? You're probably the first batch of doing it. So what made you choose Mahindra in the first place?
So for me, it was about the courses, because throughout when I did my research for college, I didn't want just like a BBA or business focused or a commerce focused program. So I wanted like a good combination with business, math and like computers. So I get into the analytics part. And my thing was, I wanted something in between of science and commerce, because I'm from science background. And since I wanted to change, I didn't want to go into something commerce intensive. So this is perfect for me. It was like perfectly had a good balance of courses.
Great. What about you?
Well, to be honest, I just when I first started looking for colleges, I was doing MPC before. I didn't feel very comfortable in going to engineering, because everyone was like, engineering is the top level in India. So I was like, no, I don't want to do engineering. So I found this college. Again, BBA, there's a lot of options of colleges you can go to, like Symbiosis and ICFAC. I found this one to be new, and I found the courses that they could put together were relatively nice, and the way they all work together, I got interested in this course.
Right.
So I picked it.
Okay. And in terms of the course structure and the teaching methodology, how has that been for you?
So I am a Bachelor of Arts student, and I'm doing a specialization in economics and finance.
Wow.
So basically the course is very well put together. The entire thing is a little dense, but at the end of the day, I think we are guided well, and it's very industry relevant and it's very updated. So you kind of know what you are expected of when you actually step into the market out there, and that's how you are trained also. You're basically trained either to get into like higher education or to place yourself into the corporate world. So yeah, I think overall it's a very comprehensive and wholesome course.
Right. And in terms of, do you guys have study groups, or how is the in-class interaction happening?
I think in the first year when we first started, we had something called tutorial groups. Yeah, which we used to have our own, like we had separate tutorials for each course, which would be a way to better understand the course.
So basically the entire class was divided into 3 sections. And when the practical part of the subject came, we were given more focus in these tutorial sessions. So these were sort of like a study groups where we worked on projects, came back to professors with several doubts, and maybe thought about other concepts too in these classes.
Right. And in terms of the practical, knowledge and practical courses that are there, what kind of things have you gone through so far?
In terms of like practical.
In terms of practicum,
Honestly,
yeah.
I think each subject, as we keep learning the theory part of it, we are asked to do a lot of assignments and projects. Indirectly, they're all very practical, though we are not like stepping ourselves into the industry, but we are trying to do a lot of research and understand how things work out there in the market.
For
That's very
instance,
practical.
to add on to what she said, like let's think about two subjects. I would like to put light on two subjects. One is digital marketing. For digital marketing, we were told to make Facebook ads and even Google AdWords, and so we know how the industry works. If you put us in a company at this point of time, we will be able to figure it out into it. So it's like whatever projects we have, it's sort of like a snapshot of what happens in the industry. Even we had another subject in our first year called spreadsheet modeling. So it's basically which was teaching us about Excel skills and everything. So in that, each one of us were given topics where we had to go ahead and, like for us, like me and Harita, we had our topic was food delivery apps. So we
It's
were
the same for us.
what we were essentially seeing, their approach was cloud kitchen. Our approach was the whole ideation process and everything. Mahindra University, I think because of the way the assignments are put together, we've all confidently can say that we've become good at that ideation process.
We
And I
get
think
like really hands-on experience. Like recently, even data warehousing, we got like a huge data set, like a realistic data set, and we have to do all the processes. And so, even for the digital marketing, as she said, we got access to Mahindra's data, so we could see how we could improve,
we had to improve the website. And even we had another subject called management information systems, which is on like a really demanded course right now. So we had a very intense 3 set project that where we had to come up with UML diagrams, user case, and how would we improve, how is that different from the processes that are in place right now. So that even if we're not able to come up with any like novel or like new processes, at least we became aware of the process that exists and like identify the problems that exist in the market. Maybe in the future we can solve them.
Very interesting that way. So internships are done, I think, for you guys. You've gone through one set of internships. So where did you go to and how was that experience?
I haven't done internships yet. We're still doing placement committees, placements. I applied for a place called Perspective Analysis, and we're waiting for the results on that.
Internships, as far as internships go, some of us did internships in our first year. So we three, like Harita, me and Lalitya, we interned at a company called Now Floats for a report called Diverse Economics of Bharat. So like Digital
Desh report 10.0. So every year they release a report, and this time they've partnered with us, the knowledge partner for the report, and about like 15 to 20 of us. So we were a part of this team, and what we had to basically do was find out what digital opportunities exist in the market for startups to leverage them, and actually come up with ideas that would help in digitalizing the depths of the economy. So we sort of picked like 4 different sectors, very authentic to India, and we tried to analyze the opportunities within that sector. For example, we picked Indian street food vendors. So there's a lot of ways we could digitalize that sector, not just through food apps. There could be some other new innovation coming into picture. There's obviously technology is obviously advancing each and every day, and startups can use this opportunity that we have found out in the market through interviews. So we did like primary interviews, and they could use this to start something new.
All these findings have been published in the report.
Okay.
And that is by the students of Mahindra University.
It's access, and companies actually access it. So the report is published, like we have like 9.0, and companies actually approach it and then they find.
Yeah, so it's essentially, like she said, identifying the problems. Apart from that, other students have also interned, like our professors who are working with the company called C2FO. So they've taken some interns under them.
And right now there's a current project going in 4700BC, the gourmet popcorn.
Yes.
The popcorn.
And we also interned with Mahindra Life Spaces about the potential of real estate in metaverse.
Yeah.
Okay. Quite interesting that you mentioned only one Mahindra company and the rest of them are outside, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're still leveraging the brand, but not as much as well. So that's a good thing. Let's talk about. So this was all boring stuff. Let's talk about how what sort of fun do you guys have on campus? What kind of things you guys
We do a lot of stuff on campus normally. We have a lot of sports, extracurriculum to do, hanging out with friends and all that. Also, the campus is very big, so we have a lot of stuff we can do. There's an entire clubhouse with all sorts of equipment. There's a gym facility, and there's a swimming pool, which is very useful if you wanted to get into like other kind of sports and stuff instead of just sitting in your room all day.
The first thing that we actually did, so we both are roommates. So first thing we did, the first week we explored the campus. So we went, and it was so large and so beautiful. It was like so much nature. So there was so much to explore. Like
Even
birds
now we
and
find
stuff.
so many new spots.
Yeah, we find
Yeah.
new places to
Every
explore.
day you can discover something, and hang out as groups. It's like there's a lot of things you can do.
The fact that we'll have to pull an all-nighter right before exams shows that we are actually doing something much more than just studying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good.
I mean, we have like really good set of student-led clubs in Mahindra University. Each one of us is part of at least 1-2 clubs, and School of Management is still new in this space. So we've also come up with our own set of clubs. So these clubs, every week there's either one club activity that you can be part of. So it really pushes you to find that community of like-minded thinkers on this campus.
So what sort of interactions you guys have with, let's say, a School of Engineering, maybe the exec MBA folks also come. So do you guys kind of interact with them as well?
So again, like we interact on these common platforms like clubs or like fests. But other than that, since we're a little away, like since MEC is away from SOM, on a normal basis we don't. But like when we come together for clubs and fests, we do. So like that kind of interaction does take place.
Okay, interesting.
And like some seniors also look out for people in SOM for some sort of projects. Like I've been approached by a senior. That kind of form of network goes on in the campus.
Which is important
Yes.
for a university to exist that way.
Yeah.
And what kind of support, so to speak, you're getting from the management as a whole? There's usually a relationship that a student would have with their alma mater, whether it's the facilities in charge, whether it's the set of professors, or somebody who's focusing on, let's say, student engagement. So how's that been?
I would like to start off. I'll mention one point. So basically, we do not have an alumni as of now. MEC has its established alumni relations cell that holds events, and you have a proper network that goes on there. But since we are the first batch, we started off with something called the mentorship program. So that is to provide support for students. Every professor undertakes takes over 10 students that they'll be coordinating with, asking them what about their career goals, guiding them in that aspect. So that is one mentorship program we have. Apart from that,
Apart from that, I think the one thing over here is the faculty is very friendly. So you can go and approach them anytime you want. So there's no sort of like there's no sort of like barrier to approach. So that friendly thing. So we usually like when we get internship opportunities, we go to like faculty and we just approach them like directly. We don't have to. Apart from the mentorship. Otherwise, the mentors itself call us. Like
they make sure to set up meetings.
There. Okay.
Yeah.
Another thing that I'd like to mention is that this program called Your Dost, where they get a therapist who you can go and talk with and interact about your problems. So even if they're even while helping with career goals, they're helping with your mental health, making sure you're okay. That is one thing.
Also, the faculty is very diverse. As in, we have teachers coming from the School of Engineering and School of Law as well. So when people come from different branches, you sort of expand your networking. You sort of expand your network with them, and then that way you get to visit these campuses more, talk to the teachers more, get to know more teachers, and I think you just develop your skill set that way.
Also, we have a compulsory feedback system after every course. After every course, you're supposed to give feedback of what the how the course structure is, how did the professor teach, are there any additional resources. So they're constantly working on making it a better place for the coming batches to, like improving on, like from the students' perspective, what is it that the university is lacking and they're not able to provide. So
Interesting. And do you guys plan to do MBA going forward?
yes.
I do plan to.
Okay. And would you consider doing that from Mahindra University's MBA program?
I feel like I'd look at it. I'd like to explore other options too, but I feel that since this college has been really good so far, I'm going to consider it.
What about you guys?
I would like to.
Yeah, I would consider it. Again, like if I have to continue here, like probably I'll take a break, like do a job or something, and then come back. But I'd definitely recommend, like because I know how faculty is, so I definitely tell people that this place is actually good for me.
Why would you want to spend 5 years in one place, right at one go, at least, and then you can always come back?
Maybe test the job market, see what you truly want to specialize in.
One thing that I feel I would stay for would be friends. Like, everywhere you go, you'll have to make new different friends. If you stick to one college, you can maybe stick with the same batch of friends.
Yeah.
That is.
And again, all these were positives that we were talking about. Right? What is not working well for you? Because I'm sure there are things.
Who would like to take that?
Yeah, I think like since we are the first batch, I think there's like pros and cons of it because we have to set the pace. But since we have to set the pace, I mean we have to have like support system. Like we might need like guidance from seniors, but since we don't have that, we take too long for some processes. Like suppose like our batch like SOM needed to start like clubs. So we were supposed to do that in first year, but it properly got executed in second year. So only those sort of some processes. But the pros of it is like since we're taking the lead, we can set like a tradition for our juniors or set like new standards for our juniors. So that's something that we can do and we can send it to like
I think one of the other cons we've also faced is when we came to this university, we were new and so were the professors. By then, the set of professors we have right now were informed. We had our the OGs, the OG professors that we had. We're still close to them, but over the course of this time we spent in Mahindra, we got more professors. So right now, we feel like we have a strong backing and several set of professors from diverse fields. So that like econometrics or any fields of that sort, we can go to them, ask them for guidance, and they even gladly include us in their projects. So before, in the starting, we didn't have that solid foundation because it was still being made. Now, I think we can confidently say that we have that strong foundation.
Great. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think at times it's just that you'd want to be with like the set of students that you have around you'd want like a really healthy competition, and it so happens that you might not get like the healthiest competition, but again there's always like a bunch of students who you think are giving you a very tough competition.
Keep you on your toes.
Keep you on your toes. So yeah, if the competition got better, it would be amazing. It would push people.
Because you ideally look for those classroom discussions, right? Why is Harvard MBA classroom so renowned? It's known for because of the classroom discussions. Maybe sometimes in Mahindra, sometimes one or two times we didn't
people
get
just don't
satisfied
find
with
the interest to come down attend the class.
Yeah.
So you sort of lose a lot of discussion points.
potential
Yeah,
through that.
But the students who are there, even those 10, let's say 50% of the class or like 60, they're good. Pushing for those.
I just
They're
wish it
trying
was
their best.
the entire 100% of the class.
100%
Obviously,
because-
that's a little.
That's difficult.
Yeah.
You have to have 80% minimum attendance, then only this is work out. Cool. That's great. Yeah. Thank you guys for taking your time and all the best for your exam.
Thank you.
Thank you so
guys.
much. It was
Thank you
amazing.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So now I'm sitting with Dr. Velamuri, who's the Dean of the School of Management, and we will be covering his vision for the School of Management and specifically the MBA program. How are they seeing this as a differentiator in the MBA ecosystem, and more about his experience as well in terms of why he joined this in the first place. So thank you, sir, for taking out time. First question to you, you've been part of established brands all throughout your career, and this is like a startup in a bigger ecosystem though. But what made you choose to join the School of Management at Mahindra?
Thank you first, Manan, for doing this interview, and welcome to Mahindra University School of Management. So I, in some ways, was forced to return to India because of COVID.
Okay.
And I decided to take this opportunity that came up, in an unplanned way. So my main reasons for joining Mahindra were that this is a university that has been set up by promoters who are not seeking to profit financially from this initiative. Okay, so that was the most important criterion. The second was, of course, the brand image of the Mahindra Group and our Chancellor, Mr. Anand Mahindra. The third reason was that I did some due diligence on the leadership and faculty team of Mahindra University. Our Vice Chancellor has a bachelor's degree from IIT Kharagpur and a PhD from the University of Wisconsin. The Dean of our School of Engineering, Professor Vishnu Pal, is one of the authorities in the world on photonics, fiber optics.
Yeah.
And he's spent about 35 years in IIT Delhi. And I could see that we had in the engineering school, which was the only school that existed when I joined, faculty members from Harvard, University of Illinois, Florida, Washington State, Ecole Centrale, Darmstadt, and of course many of the top IITs in India.
Yeah.
So, and finally, I saw the placement statistics, which were very reassuring that the university was placing its students not just in the Mahindra Group companies, but there was a very broad cross-section of multinational and Indian corporates who were hiring from the university. And we were also placing our students in master's programs in schools like Stanford, Purdue, Imperial College, Columbia, and so on and so forth, right? So what I could see from my research on the university was this is a very serious initiative. And that is what, made it easier for me to join, right? Yeah.
Okay. And, traditionally universities or even in UB schools would start with their MBA program, then go to exec MBA, then go to bachelor's. Here it's all the way, around. So what is the thought behind that?
Yeah. So this is my own view that because management education in India started with the Indian Institutes of Management, our standards for postgraduate management education in India have been traditionally much higher than for undergraduate business education. In some ways, the IIMs have set the standard. And then, of course, your alma mater, ISB, came in later, with which I was very fortunate to be associated for 18 years as a visiting faculty. They upped the ante significantly, by raising the standards even more. We saw that the undergraduate business education was still very traditional and in many ways disconnected from industry needs.
True.
And we felt that we could make an immediate impact on the undergraduate market. So we decided to launch two BBA streams, one in the area of computational business analytics and one in the area of digital technologies. I was just talking to a very senior manager from Tech Mahindra recently, just half an hour ago, and she was saying that 65% of their revenues today come from these two verticals, right? These two services. And this is true for the entire IT services industry in India. The third stream that we've launched is a BA in economics and finance. So in India, you've had BA degrees in economics and BA degrees in finance, but there are very few degrees that combine both, and it's a very powerful combination, right? So that's what we did. And in just 2 years, the word of mouth has been so strong that we are getting applications from the best high schools in the country. And in fact, now we are pushing the university to in fact limit the class size until we can get the faculty team, geared up, right? So we have 15 full-time faculty. We are looking by August to ramp it up to about 26, 27. And we conducted 6 interviews yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we are on a hiring spree. And so that is the reason we targeted the bachelor's program first. The next thing we felt, as both Sanjay Singh, who heads the MBA and EMBA programs, and we are very experienced with EMBA programs.
Yes.
Okay, and so he headed the PGP Max at ISB. I was in charge of the global EMBA both at ESA and CIBS. And we felt that there is a need in the Indian market, for a high quality MBA that does not require executives to leave their jobs. Okay. Yes. And we want to distinguish it from a part-time MBA. A part-time MBA is usually a weekend MBA, program, right? Yeah. Which targets a very local population.
True.
Ours is a modular program which requires participants to come in once every 2 months for a week and we are tapping into the entire country. Okay, so in fact, most of our participants are not from Hyderabad. Okay, so we wanted to address that gap in the market. And to be very honest with you, that has been a challenge for us, to educate the market about the EMBA program, because in India, while the full-time MBA is a product that everybody is aware of, everybody understands, the EMBA, the term EMBA is used in very different ways by different institutions, right? And so we have been, over the last year and a half, visiting the leading companies in India and explaining to them the value proposition of the EMBA program. And, we are grateful to the Mahindra Group for placing their trust in us. They have sponsored 5 of their participants, high potential managers, to come and join the program. But we've also had participants from Kyndryl, which is a spin-off of IBM, the Claridge's Hotel in Delhi, a Stryker, which is a medical implants company, Novartis, Jacobs Engineering, and so on. So we've got a very high quality first cohort of managers. And we are looking forward to recruit, a similar cohort of managers for the second intake. The average experience of our first cohort is 17 years, okay, which is very typical of global EMBA programs, right? So we want to introduce that product in this country. There are only 2 comparable programs in our opinion. One is the ISB's PGP Max, and the other is IIT Bombay's partnership with Washington Oling, right? And so that's a space that I think we as players need to develop in India. Because as you know, in the US, 2/3 of the MBA admissions are not for full-time admissions, right? Whereas in India, the full-time still dominates the market, correct? Yeah. So that's the reason we launched the EMBA Next, and this year is when we are launching the full-time MBA. Yeah.
Right. And the first batch of BBA is not placed per se yet. We will launch the EMBA. Now an MBA. Are we moving too fast, do you think? Or
sometimes we ask ourselves that question, but when you have the resources of a university, right? We have, just in terms of infrastructure, we have more than 100 acres here in Hyderabad. We have buildings that we can immediately occupy. For example, we've been in the School of Management building that existed, even before we came here. It just needed to be renovated from the inside to cater to our needs for a couple of years, because we are getting a brand new School of Management building, which will be available in the middle of 2024. And you have very experienced administrators who are supporting the school, and you have very, very good staff, very good central departments, finance, admissions, and so on and so forth. Then launching new products becomes a little easier, right? Where we have not had any difficulty is in recruiting faculty. So we hired the first 10 faculty based on an application of about 200 applicants. So we were very selective from the very beginning. And I think a lot of credit for that goes to the Mahindra brand, to the fact that we are in Hyderabad, which is an education hub, as you know. And it's also a high-tech hub. And that's made it very easy. People also from all over India like coming to Hyderabad because Hindi is widely spoken here. And they feel very welcome, right? I think of the southern cities, this is probably the most open to people from all over India. Bangalore used to be like that, but I don't know if it's still the case. In Bangalore, right? Yeah. So I think, so we decided to move quickly. We have a very good team. And of course, we rely on excellent partners such as you, so to make it happen. Yeah.
And I'm just, let's take a step back and talk about the relevance of an MBA right now in India or the world context, right? There is a lot of talk around MBA versus startups, or specializations rather go for an MBA, MS go in deep into a particular area, and MBA is no longer relevant. So where do you see the role of an MBA in the next 5-10 years, given Chat GPT coming in, almost moving towards singularity, for instance? So,
Right.
what's your thought on the relevance of the degree itself?
So I'm actually a very firm believer in the MBA. Okay, and I started my MBA exactly 40 years ago in 1983. It was a 2-year program, entirely case-based in Barcelona at ESA. We learnt several frameworks in the 2-year program, and those frameworks have now been superseded by more sophisticated ones, right? But what I'm still left with from my MBA experience is the way of thinking, that I learned from the program. And today, the MBA, although it's highly commoditized, it is still by a very wide margin the most popular master's program in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that is so for a reason. If industry did not find MBA graduates to be, worth hiring, we would not have such a big MBA offering in the world, right? So, and it's also a program, I believe, all over the world, and I include India in this, where the administrators and the faculty members have continuously innovated the content.
Yeah.
And it is probably one of the programs, one of the educational programs that has stayed most abreast of developments outside the academic institutions, in the external environment, right? Be it industry, be it society, right? Be it in terms of policy. So what the MBA does basically is it socializes participants into the language of business.
Yeah.
And when they join a business, they hit the ground running. That's what it does, right? I've had, for example, senior R&D managers, right, or senior medical officers who were going to be tasked with the responsibility of running a hospital join an EMBA program.
Yeah.
And when they joined the EMBA program, they were very apprehensive because they felt that they did not know, marketing, human resource management, finance, accounting, and so on. And by doing the 2-year program, they felt tremendously confident in their own abilities to run either a hospital or any other institution, right? So I think there have been several critics of the MBA program, and very often from within business schools.
Yes.
But I am actually, as I said, a very firm believer in the value of an MBA, and I think it's an excellent degree.
Right.
Yeah, and we have an obligation to keep it that way.
Nice. And with the program at Mahindra University, if I were to ask you from a student's perspective, what are the outcomes 2 years later once somebody completes that you're expecting a student to take away? What are the top 3 things that, as a student I can, look forward to? What would those be?
See, what students look for is obviously a very good placement.
Yes.
Correct? And I don't blame them, because when I was in the MBA program, that was my goal also, right? Yeah. But I also want to say that the impact of an MBA program lasts far beyond the first placement. And that is what we are going to be focusing on. So we want a transformative experience. And I'll give you an example, Manan. When I was in charge of the Globally MBA program at ESA, we used to ask the participants in the opening residency to fill out a form where they outlined their expectations of the program. Okay, and we would seal that form in an envelope, and at the end of the 2 years, in the final residency, we would give them back the form and say, please open it and tell us if we've met your expectations. And much to our surprise, many of the participants said, Professor, actually our expectations have changed. We find that these expectations that we wrote down 2 years ago are no longer valid, right?
Yeah.
So in learning theory, this is called double loop learning, right? Where we actually change the preferences of participants, right? We convey to them, or the learning experience in some ways is so profound that it shifts their preferences and their values about what is important in life, right? And we are trying to put together a program like that at Mahindra University.
Right. Okay. And a lot of value from an MBA program also is derived out of the peer learning, right? And that is a factor of two things. One is the diversity that you have in the batch, and of course the number of people also. I'm sure we are covering the diversity angle, but this will be a fairly smaller cohort compared to a lot of new programs that are coming in. So how do you want to address that? Because that's one takeaway that people might not get from a small cohort.
Yeah. So we have a target of a minimum of 30. And I think we are willing to go up to 60. With 60, I think the peer learning would be taken care of, because most batch sizes are, of 60 students. Even when they have larger intakes, they are divided into sections of 60, right? So, but even if we decide that we don't want to go beyond 30 because we are not getting, applications of high enough quality, we have a number of different means of encouraging that peer learning process. Because we have an EMBA program now, we can offer modules where the two sets of participants, work together. We can give our participants perhaps better industry exposure than most business schools that do not have this organic link to industry that we have with the Mahindra Group, right? It's not just the link that we have with the Mahindra Group, but the network that they open up for us. Okay, so for example, just to give you an example, we have very good connections to the board members of the Mahindra Group, who represent other great corporates from India, right? Such as the Murugappa Group or Apollo Hospitals, organizations like that. So there are multiple mechanisms, and also we have overseas modules. We have overseas partners, the Frankfurt School in Germany, Cornell, S.C. Johnson College of Business in the US. So we can look for mechanisms to expose our students to experiences in these partner schools and help them interact with, their peers from these partner schools.
Right.
So we look for a number of different ways to enrich their learning experience. Yeah.
And I think on top of that, the university ecosystem, where you have a school of law, you have a school of engineering.
Yes.
All those would also play a part here.
Yes. So I think this is the first time actually I am a part of a multidisciplinary university. Although in Spain, ESA Business School was part of the University of Navarra. We were about 400 kilometers from the main university campus. So it was like a standalone school. But here we have, access to a high-performance computing lab. So we are probably one of the few, if not the only, private university that has a supercomputer, right? It's an NVIDIA DGX-1 computer that was designed for deep learning. Okay. So for some of our courses that are tech-related, we can have professors from the School of Engineering teaching those courses. For example, for our BBA students, we have a professor from the computer science department teaching them Python.
Yeah.
Okay. We had an industry leader teaching them data warehousing, business intelligence, and visualization. So we can actually plug into the university resources. The School of Law has faculty members specializing in corporate law. So if there's anybody wants to take an elective in law relating to mergers and acquisitions, we can have somebody specialized deliver that course.
Yeah.
So this opens up, tremendous opportunities for us as a business school. That's part of a multidisciplinary university.
Right. And to close, I would ask two things. One is, 10 years later, if you're sitting here again, where would you want to be in terms of the growth in the program? Are we looking at FT rankings, for instance, or what else?
So we would definitely be looking at FT rankings, although I do believe that FT rankings should not be looked at too literally. I think they provide some reassurance to stakeholders that a school, for example, that's in the top 20 or the top 50 is a good school, right? So we'll be looking at that, but we'll be looking at the things that will help us, be in the top rankings of FT or any other ranking, right? And those are basically an outstanding faculty, a highly motivated student body, right? And a great curriculum with good industry connects, right? If we do that, I think we can be amongst the top 10 postgraduate business schools in India and among the top 5 undergraduate business schools in India in 5 years from now.
That's a good goal. And finally, what would be your message to, let's say, the first 30 or 60 set of believers who are out there as they prepare for their application journey or think about an MBA in general?
I would ask them to look at the attributes of Mahindra University that I looked at, right? Look at the Chancellor who got his undergrad and grad degrees from Harvard, Mr. Anand Mahindra. Look at the leadership team of the university. Look at the faculty team of the university. Look at our current students. Look at our infrastructure, and make your decision.
Right. Thank you so much for taking out time, and I think clearly it's heading in the right direction to build an institution and looking at the input parameters, like MS Dhoni has, right?
Yes.
Take care of the process and the outcomes will come, and I'm sure that will be the same for you guys.
Yeah.
So thank you and all the best for the journey.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fun today on the Mahindra University campus. I really look forward to the MBA program they're about to start, and the program looks very, very promising. The more striking part that I saw was the fact that while they have borrowed the Mahindra name as a legacy, they are not relying on it as much for their engineering and BBA programs. The engineering placements and the BBA internships that have happened, majority of them have been outside Mahindra companies. So what remains to be seen is how the MBA program progresses. One not so good part about the program that I saw was that they are looking at a smaller cohort which might impact the peer learning. However, given the fact that they are on the university, there are School of Law, School of Management, other programs, School of Engineering, etc. There is a lot of peer learning that can be done from other disciplines as well. What remains to be seen is how the program goes, but overall, I am looking forward to the overall ecosystem that has been created here, as well as how it will disrupt the MBA ecosystem in general. The fact that the Dean, Sanjay Singh, who's the program head, the faculty, etc. from top-notch institutes is something definitely to look forward to. So if you loved what you saw, just subscribe away to our channel, like this video, share it with somebody who's interested in it, and of course apply away to the MBA program if the program seems a good fit for you.